development virtual talk. I'm here today with Lyzz Ogunwo. Woo. She is the Peace Corps White House Liaison, and she's going to go ahead and chat a little bit with you guys about what she does and kind of how she came to be doing what she's doing. And then we're going to open it up to questions. And I know some of you already sent in some, so we'll get those answered, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to turn it over to Lyzz.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction. My name is Lyzz Ogunwo, and I currently serve as the White House Liaison here at Peace Corps. Now, what does a White House Liaison do? You know, it's different every day. It evolves over the months, but essentially every federal agency has a liaison, and their role is to foster and manage communications between the White House and whatever agency they're currently working at. So in terms of here at Peace Corps, I am that link in between the White House and here at Peace Corps. And that, you know, that varies from anything around any initiatives that we're looking to partner with the White House on, if there are any priorities that the president and the White House are focused on and they want the agencies to get on board and support. The liaison helps out there as well. But also every federal agency has a class of appointees who are serving on behalf of the president at whatever agency they are working at. And the White House liaison is responsible for the recruitment and the retention of those political appointees who are at that agency. So I do a lot of that here at Peace Corps. So, I mean, it's exciting, it's engaging, you know, whenever there are major events at the White House. For instance, tomorrow the Canadian delegation is coming. We get to welcome Prime Minister of Canada here to the U.S. I got participating on behalf of Peace Corps and what that engagement will look like. So it's fun. It's changing every day of the week, and it's really an amazing opportunity to serve the president here at Peace Corps.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Do you maybe want to speak a little bit kind of what your background is and kind of the career path that took you to where you are today?
Yeah, excellent. So I can start back to my time in undergrad. You know, I was doing what most of you are probably doing at this time, presiding over a couple of organizations. I was a hall director, and, you know, I was committed to working in international development. Ideally, I'd be able to either go work in Ghana after I studied abroad there, or Nigeria. But it was during my senior year when I heard a phenomenal speech from the president and then senator at the time, when he was at one of the Democratic primaries, or one of the conventions. And it was just so inspiring. And you know, I'd never really been in tune with politics. Sadly, I'd never voted up until that point, but just his message around hope and change and how we can all come together to make a better nation for all of us just inspired me. And I got on board. Over my spring break, I went out to Ohio to campaign for him. A couple of weeks later, I was in Pennsylvania, and just whenever there was an opportunity to volunteer and knock on doors and tell the world about the change that he wanted to bring to DC and the government, I was there. So after I graduated, I actually was hired on board to work on the campaign, and worked in Virginia up until the general election where we won. You know, thinking back to the night before the election, actually 3 days prior to I had received a call from the president's advance team saying that he wanted his last stop before Election Day to be in the city where I was the field organizer for. So I actually had to organize a rally for 92,000 people and introduce the president, and also encourage everyone to go out and vote the next day. And clearly, you know, I'm wearing like sweats. My hair is a mess. I'm just trying to get to Election Day, and now we have to pull together this phenomenal event for the night before Election Day. And you know, you're wedded to a president and his entire trajectory from that point. So we won, thankfully. I'm still employed to this day because of that victory into 2008. So essentially, I've been, supporting the president and his vision since then. Worked on the campaign. I went to the White House for a bit afterwards. From there, I went over to the Department of Energy, worked with phenomenal individuals over there, working on establishing a council on women and girls and what that looks like in getting more women and girls involved in the STEM fields. And I think there was a conversation I was having with the secretary and the undersecretary there where we were just discussing about essentially about these formative years in your career. They really shape your perspective and where you go in the policies that you're working on 10 years down the road, or just the ideas that you're bringing to the table. And it was at that point when I had realized that I had never worked abroad. I'd never worked on the ground in other countries, but I still had a passion and desire to work in those spaces later on the road. So that's when I decided to apply to the Peace Corps. Most people don't leave the federal government, I would say, to go serve, but I did apply and I got in, and I had the opportunity to serve as a Peace Corps volunteer in Senegal. And it was amazing. I can go into so many details about that experience and how life-changing it is. But after my time serving as a volunteer there, I came back and I worked on the president's re-election campaign. Spent a couple of years in New York focusing on poverty reductions in cities, and then came back again to the administration now to finish out strong with the president. So
wonderful. That sounds really exciting. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what you think the students, what kind of classes or what kind of skills or, extracurricular activities that they could be doing to help them get to someplace like you are now. Like, what are those things that you feel like really helped you develop the skills that you need today in your job?
It's a really good question. When I think back to my time in undergrad, it was really those extracurricular activities that led me to where I am today, and just really having those opportunities to work by and work with individuals from completely different walks of life with different perspectives, and working together towards a central cause is, I think, what allowed me to continue down the path that I am going down today, and just really being able to collaborate and work so closely together with such unique individuals is really critical. And I think that's the beauty of your time in undergrad. I mean, you can spend time with like-minded individuals. You can, go to class, get great, phenomenal grades. But when you're intentionally placing yourself in those environments with people who think differently from you, I really think those were the experiences that helped me to really, succeed and be where I am today.
Awesome, great. Can you maybe talk about some concrete skills that you think that students need to have in order to, work on campaigns or make them more competitive to get a job on a campaign, or working, kind of in this intersection of working for the White House, but then also working for another agency, and kind of having two people who you are responsible to in a way?
Yeah. Definitely writing and communication skills are key. You're working with various different stakeholders who communicate differently. I think I took a couple of courses around crisis management and the corporate communication during my undergraduate years, and just being able to communicate the same message in different ways is extremely critical. I would also say networking is key. I wouldn't necessarily call that a technical skill, but an important skill to have. Every conversation you're having with anyone, you don't know what could come from those conversations, but being cognizant of that and being sure to foster those relationships with individuals is extremely key as well. Math skills.
Yeah.
Critical. I mean, data matters. The reason why, we were able to be so successful on the re-election campaign is it was around data, being able to manipulate the numbers and see where to target resources is key. So, I mean, if you hate statistics, I feel you, but data and statistics are critical, I think, in the political realm as well.
Okay, great. So you talked a lot about networking, or a little bit about it here. Could you maybe just share some helpful hints on, how to go about networking? I know it's something that even, several years out of college, I still really struggle with. So maybe some things that you found that work really well, or some things to maybe avoid.
That's a good question. In terms of things that work really well, I want to say keeping in touch is key. During my time on my first time on the presidential election campaign, a lot of my volunteers were actually coming from the DC area. So they were, some were, former ambassadors, some were working in the international development space, and they all had these, bilingual skills. So they were helping out a lot with our phone banking and canvassing efforts to communities of, using their bilingual skills. And, I kept in touch with them. I had no idea what their 9 to 5 was. I just knew that they showed up from 5 to 9 to help out. And over just keeping in touch, telling them where I was and what my interests were, I found out that some of them are actually working at the, working at the State Department. Some of them were actually ambassadors, and were able to connect me to amazing opportunities. I got to be a political observer in El Salvador for a couple of months, just because I was able to maintain that relationship and express that interest. So I think knowing that when you're networking and having, building relationships with individuals, I'd say 9 times out of 10 people are looking to see how they can help you reach your goals or whatever it is you want to accomplish in life. So knowing that as you're entering conversations, it's critical to be able to express what your wants are, what your interests are, and in the back of their minds, they're thinking about ways they can help you get to those wants.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties with my phone to be able to see some of your guys' questions you guys have sent in. So Laura had sent in a question about what Lyzz did before becoming a White House liaison. And so I think we've answered that.
Mm-hmm.
Myra has a question about what kind of steps did you take to get to the position that you have now? And I think, we kind of covered that just now in the networking. And then, I think this is a great one. What kind of recommendations would you have for people that are looking to take the same career trajectory as you? Sorry, we're having a lot of technical difficulties over here today. Did I lose it? Okay. No, I don't think that's working. Sorry, guys. I promise we'll figure this out here in a second. Okay, I think we have it figured out. Sorry.
Not a problem. And then we're back. So
yeah.
in terms of getting, the path that I've been on and just getting here, I'd say that volunteering was key. Internships were key. Being on the other side, being employed by campaign and, working within the administration, you love volunteers, right? They're the volunteers, interns. They're they're the apple in your eye, the light of your day, and just they're really exciting, and they're to help you in whatever way possible. And through those internships and those volunteer opportunities, you're not only building relationships, but you're showing a desire and a will to pursue a career in a path in those specific areas. So I think any opportunity that you have to volunteer, even if it might not be a job per se, volunteering is one step to that. So prior to me getting hired to work on the president's campaign and the reelection campaign, I was volunteering anytime I had during my time in undergrad. I was out canvassing, I was phone banking, I was in the local offices doing what I could to just help out and support. And then eventually I was hired on. And similarly, before I was hired on to work at the White House, and then later at the Department of Energy, I was volunteering. I was helping out in in a couple of different offices within the White House as well too. So even if there isn't a cut and dry job opportunity, there usually are volunteer and internship opportunities that could eventually lead to a career.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Great. So it sounds like network, volunteer, intern, know what you want to do.
And
great.
Share with the world what it is that you want to do, because if enough people listen, there's a connection and an opportunity that can come from that.
Awesome. Let's take it back a little bit to what you're currently doing. Do you want to talk kind of about maybe some of the things you really enjoy about the job that you think are really great? And then also maybe on the flip side, what are some of the challenges that you kind of face in your job?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you an example of just the other day, just why I love doing my job. Peace Corps has had an extraordinary past couple of years, and this past year, Congress awarded Peace Corps the biggest budget we've ever received, and that's a huge deal. That's allowing Peace Corps to do more of the great work that we're doing all over the world, and that's something to be recognized and to highlight. So I had the opportunity to work with the White House and work with the President and Cabinet Affairs to pull together a recognition letter from the President to our Congressional Relations team, who they, all the time last year, they were on the Hill having conversations with senators and representatives about why Peace Corps needed the budget that we do need in order to be successful. And, they were successful, and the president wanted to acknowledge that and wrote them a letter thanking them for their hard work and their efforts in this phenomenal milestone. And I was able to work behind the scenes to pull that letter together and work with our director here to give that letter to our Congressional Relations team. And I mean, that's so exciting to see the faces of that team, to see the excitement from our director, and then also being able to help the president, who wants to be able to acknowledge the great work that's going on across the agency and the work of his appointees is, it's a highlight of my job and the work that I get to do.
Great.
In terms of the flip side, we want to accomplish a lot of things. There are so many ideas and initiatives that we want to accomplish as the president, as the administration, and we're going to do whatever we can in order to support these initiatives. But each federal agency has a different timeline, a different schedule, and different capacity levels. And there are challenges at times when there are initiatives and great ideas that are coming from one side, and being able to right size it and right fit it for the agency itself. There are a lot of tough conversations, a lot of a lot of how to be politically correct around this. I'm just being able to go back and forth and liaise about what is possible and what is necessary and what is required to support the priorities and initiatives on either side. It's really hard. It's what's it called? Like a
Tug and pull.
Tug and pull.
Great. Well, that sounds really challenging.
Yeah.
I would think.
A lot of tough conversations.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. So let's say you were hiring someone to help you in your office or to work in your office with you. If you're looking at resumes, what are things that are going to stand out to you on a resume? Maybe someone who's just graduated or has a couple years of experience. What are those things that you look for or would look for?
Excellent. It takes me back to when I was at the White House before and was culling through hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And I think the biggest thing that you're looking for when you're looking at resumes is not necessarily what someone has done, but the impact of what they've done. And regardless of how big of an accomplishment it is, it's critical for people to be able to demonstrate and show like the reason for why they're doing the things that they are doing and how that's impacting whatever organization, agency, company that it is that they're working at. So I think for those who are in leadership opportunities on campus or interning and whatnot, not only being able to say, yes, I was the president of this organization, but through being the president of this organization, we were able to recruit X number of members of this organization. We were able to hold 7 volunteer events that, helped, 600 kids with their studies or whatever it may be, but just being able to show the impact of the work that you're doing, but also, in general, showing that you volunteer and that you care about the community that you're living in is key. It's always important to highlight that and show that on your resume as well.
Great. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's all the questions that were sent in. So I don't know if you have any final kind of thoughts or words that you want to say, and then we can wrap it up. Sorry, that was kind of awkward.
No, I think it's exciting. I love this opportunity to be able to talk with all of you. I know it's hard and it's challenging when you're thinking about your next year, your next 3 years, your next 5 years, and you want to be able to put together this perfect timeline and this perfect course of action. And I think I've really realized over the year that regardless of what, the plans that I have mapped out, I haven't followed those plans at all. But I have been, I think, very intentional about thinking about where I am and if I'm learning and growing in the places that I am currently am. And if I can't say, yes, I'm learning or yes, I am growing, then that's time to reflect on. Maybe you want to look elsewhere, or maybe it's time to go down a different career path, and just thinking of it in that lens versus comparing yourself to others and what others may be doing, but just reflecting on if you're growing as an individual in your role. That's something I've really taken to heart. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lyzz. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys. Talk to you later.
Yeah, take care. All the best.